welcome back to the WHL show. My name is Hayden, and I am joined by Tanner and Adrien. We are going to be going over the first week of the first round of the WHL playoffs. They are underway. We're going to talk scores, players of the week, and where the series are tied at, and then we'll do points, like playoff player stats, and then we'll talk a little bit about some of the big news that we missed last week. Last week we had a really in-depth coverage of what the playoffs are going to look like. So if you are looking for any of a series preview, essentially, check out last week. It is uploaded everywhere. So Twitter, YouTube, and Spotify. You can go and check that out. I do also plan to get a physical version of that document up on not a physical, but like a reading version of that document up on area51sportsnet.com. Working on getting that formatted and up so you guys have a good resource and reference through the first round of playoffs. And then we'll do it all over again when we get to the second round, which will be sooner rather than later, which is crazy because it moves so fast. But we're going to start off with our normal scheduled programming. This episode is not going to be as long as last week. Last week was over an hour long because we covered every single matchup with in-depth stats and previews and such, which is great. But this week will be a lot quicker. So thank you to everybody who's tuning in either live as we are streaming or listening later on Spotify or YouTube or wherever. So appreciate everybody for your support and for hanging out with us. Tanner, if you want to actually start us off with the player of the week for last week, and then we'll talk rookie of the week and then goalie of the week.
So the player of the week is Oasis Weisblatt from the Medicine Hat Tigers. He started the playoffs so far with 5 goals and assists, which really helped the Tigers take their 2-0 series lead against the Broncos. He got his first playoff hat trick in the Tigers' 4-0 shutout in Game 1 and earned second star of the night. And for Game 2, he scored 2 goals and an assist, and one of those goals was counted as the game winner. He currently leads all WHL skaters in goals and is only second to McKenna in points. In his 3 times in the postseason, he's averaging a point-per-game pace with 7 goals, 4 assists across all of his playoff games, and he's also on a 14-game point streak that started on February 17th in the regular season.
And our rookie of the week, Adrien, if you want to talk about that.
Our rookie of the week is Mathis Preston from Spokane. He was blanked on in the first game, and then in the second game, too, saw him record his first playoff goal and a hat trick. In the 7-5 win with 3 goals and a +3, he was named first star of that game. He leads all dub rookies in postseason goals, and in the regular season, he had 23 goals, including 4 game winners, and 22 assists for 45 and 54, and he finished 3rd in goals among all first-year skaters.
That game was really fun because it was like Spokane was up 5-0, and then Vancouver came back and it was 6-5, and then the game finished 7-5. I think it was like 6-5 with like 3 minutes left in the period and like in the game.
Something like that. Yeah, it was wild.
Insane. Yeah. And Spokane still won, so despite Vancouver's near comeback, that they still held it down. But oh my goodness, love playoff hockey. Our goalie of the week is Johnny Hicks from the Victoria Royals. He led all starting goalies with a 2.00 record and a 1.00 goals against average, a .962 save percentage, and a shutout in his WHL playoff debut. In Game 1, he stopped all 22 shots from the Americans in a 3-0 win. He was busier in Game 2, but he still came out on top, stopping 29 of 31 shots in the 6-2 victory. He is from Kamloops, BC, and he joined the Royals on January 3rd, 2025, so just a few months ago, after starting his season with the BCHL's Brooks Bandits. He went 10-4-0-1 in the home stretch of the regular season with the Bandits, with a 2.69. Well, actually, in the home stretch of the regular season, not with the Bandits, with the Royals. Sorry, with a 2.69 goals against average and a .909 save percentage. So he's doing well. And now, speaking of playoff games and scores and such, we are going to talk about the series and give a quick series recap / catch up, etc. check in For the first half of the series, we've had I think every game that we have in the playoffs, we have every matchup we have in the playoffs, the first 2 games have been played. A few ties, we have a few leads. So if we want to start off with the Tigers versus Broncos, Tanner, if you want to, or however you guys divided it up, if you want to talk.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So for the Tigers versus the Broncos, Med Hat currently leads 2-0. The first game on March 28th, they had the 4-0 win. And then the next day on the 29th, they won 6-3. And then their next games are on April 1st and 2nd. And then if they need more, which who knows, there will be more.
Between the Raiders and the Oil Kings, the series is tied at 1-1. On the 28th, Edmonton beat PA 3-1. And then on the 29th, PA beat Edmonton 6-1. And then their next 2 games are also on the 1st and the 2nd. And the 5th one will be played after that.
Yes.
And for the Blades versus the Hitmen, Calgary leads the series 2-0. The first one, they won 4-2 on the 28th, and the second was 5-1 yesterday on the 30th. And like I think every other game, they also play on the 1st and 2nd, except for Spokane, I think. So tough over there.
Sure. And then between the Hurricanes and the Wheat Kings, Lethbridge leads 2-0. Their first game on the 28th, they beat Brandon 6-3. And the second game on the 29th, they beat Brandon 4-3. Yeah, 4-3. And then, the first and the second are the next games.
For the Silvertips versus the Thunderbirds, this is such a fun matchup. I think this and the Spokane are my 2 favorites, at least in the West. So the Thunderbirds and the Silvertips are currently tied 1-1. The Thunderbirds won their first game against Everett on the 28th. It was a 3-2 win over the Silvertips. And then on the 29th, the next day, there was an OT win for the Silvertips, also a 3-2. That was on the 29th. So they are currently tied 1-1 at the moment, with their next games being on April 1st, and then which is tomorrow, and then April 4th. The Royals versus the Americans, Victoria leads 2-0. So on the 28th, the Victoria Royals finished 3-0 against the Tri-City Americans. And then on the 29th, the Victoria Royals beat the AMs from 6-2. Their next games are going to be April 1st and April 2nd. So it's going to be tomorrow and Wednesday for the next 2 games. And then Chiefs versus Giants. Spokane leads the series 2-0. On the 28th, the Chiefs beat the Giants 4-1. And then on the 30th, they beat Vancouver 7-5. And like I mentioned just a little bit ago, that game they started with a 5-0 lead and then finished the game 7-5. So that was eventful. For the Cougars their next games are on the 2nd and the 3rd, so Wednesday and Thursday. For the Cougars and the Winterhawks, the series is currently tied at 1-1. On the 28th, Prince George beat the Winterhawks 7-6 in overtime. And then on the 29th, Portland beat Prince George 5-2. Their next games are the 1st and 2nd, so tomorrow and Wednesday, and then we will see how far that series goes. Now we're going to go into player stats. So if you guys want to go ahead and start with who are our points leaders in our first week of the playoff, in the first week of the playoff round 1.
So the points leaders so far is Gavin McKenna in first with 9 points, and second and third are both tied with Oasis Weisblatt with 6, and also Diego Buttazzoni also has 6 points so far.
And for goals, Oasis Weisblatt leads with 5, and then second and third are tied. Diego Buttazzoni again and Cole Rushny for three goals each.
And for assists, Gavin McKenna's in first with 8, and then it's another tie for second and third between Tyson Jugnoth and Daxon Rudolph, and they both have 4 assists so far.
Perfect. For goals against average, Johnny Hicks leads the league right now with a flat 1. And then Harrison Menigan and Anders Miller are tied in second with a 1.50. Save percentage, Max Hildebrand leads with a 0.963. Johnny Hicks is in second with a 0.962, super close behind. And then Scott Ratzlaff is in third with a 0.947. Also, fun fact, I didn't realize that Ratzlaff he has not played a WHL playoff game until this season. I did not realize that was
I
his
saw
debut.
that. It was.
I know,
I
because
would
it was
thought
Miller's
so.
the last time, and then this was his debut, and then he ended up like stopping. I think he had like 45 out of 47 shots or something insane like that. So shout out to Ratzlaff, because oh my gosh, yeah, I just never realized that it wasn't his that was his first playoff game, which is wild. Because he's been such a prominent name for his team for the past few years, so it's insane. In wins, we have the three goalies who are tied with 2 right now: Johnny Hicks, Menigan, and Anders Miller. Harrison Menigan and Anders Miller. And yeah, so that's where we are at in wins. And then I think it's kind of important to mention the Harrison Menigan. It was him, right? His father. Yeah, his father unfortunately passed away. I want to say 5 or so days prior to the first game of playoffs. Absolutely heartbreaking. But he recorded a shutout on his first. I think it was his first playoff shutout, at least.
I think so, yeah.
And then it was the first game of, I don't know if it was his playoff debut or not, but he it was a really heartwarming moment. And that was just something I wanted to mention because it was really cool to see. Now we get to go into just a little bit of news that super important that we missed last week. So we are going to be having an expansion, which is fun. Excuse me. This was announced last week, and then we got so wrapped up in playoffs that I also just completely spaced talking about it. But the WHL has awarded an expansion franchise to the Penticton Vees. This is and also launching the franchise application process for Chilliwack. And then I'll just give you some highlights from the article that the WHL posted. So, for y'all's information, the expansion of the WHL to Penticton and Chilliwack will increase the WHL footprint to 24 clubs by the 2026-27 season, including 18 throughout Western Canada and then 6 in the Pacific Northwest United States. The WHL's Penticton Vees franchise will join the BC division in the Western Conference for this upcoming season, the 2025-2026 regular season, which feels fast, but I also don't know if that's fast. I mean, with the Wild, it was also very hey, this is, a thing, and then it was a thing real fast, if you know what I mean. So I don't think it's, but also that was a relocation and not necessarily an expansion. So I don't know. Either way, we are going to have a new team next season. The Penticton Vees will be bound by Hockey Canada's existing player transfer regulations as well as WHL regulations, which means that the Vees will be participating in a 2025 WHL expansion draft, which is scheduled for Wednesday, May 7th. And don't worry, we will be here to recap that for you guys. They will also participate in the 2025 WHL Prospects Draft, the 2025 WHL US Priority Draft, and the 2025 CHL Import Draft. The Vees have begun recruiting a 15-year-old player list. A 15-player list, sorry, which will expand to the WHL standard 50-player list on May 7th. So they already are looking at players that they want and recruiting, and then on May 7th, when they do have the expansion draft, that's when it's going to open up to the standard 50-player protected list for that team. The WHL will immediately launch a franchise application process for Chilliwack, where interested parties will be invited to present a plan, including a vision for hockey operations, community integration, and business operations, which will be evaluated by the WHL commissioner and the executive committee. There has been talk that Chilliwack is not interested in joining the WHL, but also that could change. So there's a lot of a lot of moving parts. So that's going to be fun to see if Chilliwack does end up joining. If they do, it will be for the 2026-2027 season. So if things do change, then they'll flip. Hold on. Sorry. Yeah. So honestly, that's kind of what he said. That's kind of it. We are going to be I need to cough 1 second. Dying. Sorry. Okay, we're good. So that is essentially it for this episode. I think one of our quickest episodes that we've had to date, which is fine. I am excited for this coming week with other WHL games and updates. Seeing who needs a game 5, who needs even further. We'll see how that goes. And yeah, so make sure all of the different things that we say every episode. Make sure you follow us on all the places and stream all the things and give us feedback. And yeah, I think Minigan's. Yeah, Jesse just messaged. I think she's right. I think Minigan's playoff debut was also. It wasn't his playoff debut, but it was his first ever playoff win.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I was getting mixed up.
I think he's played like small handful of games.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. I'm gonna go drink some water since I can't stop coughing randomly. Thank you to everybody who tuned in, and make sure that you join us next week for another round of playoff recaps. Bye bye. Thank you, everybody.